Okay, response video to Fred, I think. A little bit breezy. I should have used the other camera. Anyway, sort of a walking talk, but walk and talk. Walk and not talk very articulately. How about that? Anyway, yeah, I did think I'm probably going to put some chairs out here in the middle of the woods at different places out here. And then I can just come back here and do my videos. Because, you know, some people, they find the walking kind of annoying. You know, bouncing around and such. Deer prints. Ugh, probably get Lyme disease. Anyway. So, yeah, if I did half the videos sitting down, well, what's the difference, really? Anyway, alright, little logistical, let's find a position that's comfortable. You just mentioned the comment box thing. Well, obviously, you know, I would argue the simple solution is you just hit the bookmark on any web page and you can just get a quick update. But yeah, embedding it on other websites is fine, but the problem is the script code. You know, you have to turn it into like a Flash object or some other kind of object, because most websites won't let you embed a JS file. But for websites that do, you can embed it. I mean, I have it embedded on my Do Not God website. You know, the little box is an embed, you know, just one line of code that loads that box. So if you have control over the web page, you know, you might be able to do it if you had a, whatever those different some of those blogging places let you embed JS files, but that's the key to it. You have to be able to embed script. If you can't embed script files, then it doesn't work. I can't create an embed code. But anyway, I mean, yeah, the bottom line is you know, it's only one click away anyway. So, whatever. Alright, now onto the subject, consciousness stuff. Yeah, I sort of want to get to the angle of what you're talking about, what we're perceiving and how we're perceiving. What's the carrier, or what's the riding, the thing that consciousness is riding on. And that's, you know, I sort of like looking at it as the sixth sense thing, because this is where, for us, the difference is. And, you know, with this elaborate consciousness. I mean, it's one thing, I think, for animal organisms, they're conscious of the world. You know, they're feeling it. So, I mean, I still like the idea of a screen that is, you know, a veneer that is consciousness. You know, and we just kind of go through it. Our brain pushes us through this barrier. There's that movie that had that thing you walk through and you go into the past kind of thing. But anyway, yeah, it's just this thing, we just fly through it. I mean, consciousness is just this moment of time, and we just kind of keep moving through it. And there's different inputs that are thrown into that moment of consciousness. I mean, right now, this is my consciousness, is this stuff in front of me here, and I'm seeing little pieces of it, and my brain is pulling it out, and I hear the birds, and, you know, there's little distractions. But the dominant player for a human in consciousness is this internal player. So we have this screen that has the external world we see. You know, and I don't want to just make it that consciousness is just this visual thing, because obviously it's not. But that's sort of like, that's the carrier, that's the background, is the screen. You know, this blue screen, let's just say. And so we have sight, so we let sight in. And we have sound, so we let sound in. And that's coming into the theater of our consciousness. And these other sensations, like, you know, right now my position's a little shitty, so I could kind of feel a little bit of pain sneaking in. My arm's a little tired. This arm's a little itchy for whatever reason. You know, I got all this little crap going on. The wind just blew a little bit, which was kind of interesting. It's, you know, yeah. So yeah, the senses are all working. I'm feeling all this stuff's getting thrown onto my screen of consciousness. But to me, the real important one is the internal thing, the thing that's doing this talking now. And it's really distracted because it's trying to think of what to say, and so it's doing all that, and it's throwing that on the screen, so I don't even really get to see that until it happens. I mean, it's almost like it's, you know, after it's already over, and well into the past before I even acknowledge, oh yeah, that's what I was talking about. So it's kind of running, and that's sort of occupying me. So I mean, this other stuff is still getting in. You know, it's trees, crotches, reminds me of things. Yeah, whatever. You know, stuff going on. There's little distractions flying in, and my brain's trying to stay on this thought thing. So I'm just trying to explain that it's like, yeah, we have these senses, but we have this sixth sense, which is our identity, our program, our model of the universe that I keep talking about. So we have this model thing, and once we have that, then I would argue we don't need the other crap. So once I have the model, once I've built the model inside my brain, you could take away this, and you don't even need it, like Helen Keller kind of pointed out. You don't even need the carriers in a way to build the model. I mean, obviously she had to live in the world, she had to have some senses, so she had to have some way to communicate, to learn language. But once she had language, she was fully human because she had that sixth sense now. She had a sense that could simulate the other senses and could certainly create enough of a world, you know, that she doesn't need the other senses. So I mean, in a sense, I mean, not that I'd want to do without it, of course, but I mean, I don't need sight, I don't need sound, I don't even need a physical disposition, I don't need any of those other senses. All I need is that sixth sense. All I need is that educated, informed, well-built model, and I can just live inside of what it produces forever, like in a dream world. I don't need any other connection to the outside world. The other senses are sort of cut off when you're dreaming, and your brain just manufactures a reality. It throws the whole thing on the screen. It creates the you know, it's certainly different than reality, but it has a texture to it, and has a reality to it, even though it's not real, a substance. And certainly it's a substance that could be augmented. It could be given high definition in 3D and all that kind of stuff, I think, without much trouble. But obviously, even when we're just using it, you know, we can hit when it's focused, when we're concentrating. I mean, lately I've been doing this whole programming stuff, and my brain really loves doing that kind of shit, just because I love things that are consuming. And so, yeah, you lose all track of time, you lose track of your environment, you lose track of your physical reality, you lose track of even your emotional disposition, because you're just caught up in this game, the game of you know, it's an adventure, it's a challenge, and it occupies your entire consciousness. Kind of gets lost in trying to figure out an angle or a situation or a you know, trying to correct an error or whatever it is. I mean, you're just totally lost in that, and it's all created internally. I mean, the whole game is an internal game created by your understanding of the chess game or whatever the game is that you're caught up in. Like I said, for me, it's just this programming game, which is, you know, finding some piece of code that'll work, that'll do what I want to do or accomplish what I want to accomplish, and finding the errors. It's what it's really all about. It's just kind of that challenge is it's enjoyable just in the sense of just getting relieved, getting away from reality. So for other people it might not be, but for me it would be, because I like the simplicity of it. I like the simple rules. I like it's just so straightforward. There's no such thing as unfairness. There's no such thing as any kind of, it's not a value game in that sense, in the real world sense. It's a game of certainly where there's an objective, but there's no punishment. There's no reward, in a sense. Yeah, I don't know how, you know, I'm not explaining that very well. So anyway, but yeah, so I mean, I'm not disagreeing with this idea of a carrier, you know, something that, it's like the sun creates the energy that moves us and all this other kind of stuff, and we could just argue that we're just this motion thing, reinterpreted, and the motion comes back out of us again. So I mean, I'm not opposed to that kind of analogy. I just don't think it works well in understanding human consciousness, and understanding, I guess, too, it also, you still have to we still have to have a good metaphor, a solid metaphor, an agreeable metaphor maybe, is the right word I'm looking for, one we can agree on, so then we can have some conversation of what consciousness is. You know, what we're describing, the character of it. And again, I kind of like that idea of it. It's just a theater, a platform, a thing we are pushed through. I mean, whether you're pushed through visually, or pushed through sounds, or texture, or smell, or whatever, it doesn't really. That part really doesn't matter. I mean, vision is just so articulate. There's just so much information in a visual field that to me that just makes it seem more logical. But it's just that idea of having this pixelated environment, this surface, this canvas. Yeah, maybe that's a good way to put it. And our senses throw data on it. They just take in the world, they throw the raw data onto the canvas, and then our brain messes with it, remembers it, takes pictures of it, compares it, does all kinds of different things with it, and reorients it and shows us different views of it. I mean, that doesn't work literally. I mean, obviously we don't sit here and see context as an actual vision, but we see it in the sense that there's an instantaneous almost reaction where my brain will say contrast. It'll say dark, light. It saw it. It just noticed contrast. So that's a theme. Now it's created this contrast theme. And now when it looks into this environment, it sees the contrast between the light and the dark. So it doesn't care about color for that instant. It's just focused on contrast. And although I'm not seeing the world black and white, it has its own focus, and it's paying attention to a certain element of the reality, and that element is what's being highlighted in my brain. So even though the image is exactly the same, nothing changes here. It doesn't like highlight it in yellow or something. It doesn't. I can't just highlight. I can't just designate in some special way. My brain's doing it internally. The highlight is in my brain. And it's through that highlighting that's in the brain model that it is doing its calculations, where it's seeing it through that filter now. And every new piece of information that's being gleaned is being gleaned based on the fact that it has an internal image in my subconscious that is highlighted. There's a number 1 on that tree, and that tree's designated 47823 because it's got some broken limbs on it. It's dead, and it's a certain number of years old, and there's a threat that it may fall on the house, and so everything's got its designation in my brain, and that those designations are communicating, are being mixed, and then thrown onto the awareness canvas, onto the canvas of awareness, is that interpretation and that key concept. But like I said, I don't see it, but I know of it. So I mean, I don't know how to. That's a hard one to explain because we don't get to see it. It doesn't get there. We don't get to see it. We only see it in how our focus changes, and how our attention changes, and how when that model does something, it's finding a connection. All of a sudden, it just sort of dulls everything here. And I can look at that tree, and it can remind me of snakes, and then that can remind me of Galapagos Island, and then all of a sudden my brain is running a videotape, or it's running some other experience I had, and I can see the little owl on the Galapagos hunting the other birds, and so now everything's getting dull here. I don't see anything sharp anymore. It's just what it is. It's the environment. It's just doing its thing, and my brain is running, a whole different message software, and I'm seeing another image. So even though I'm seeing with my eyes, I'm seeing with my brain, and I'm seeing a little owl on a volcanic island. Right now, I'm seeing it, but my point is my intention is obviously we can see when we're doing that, because you can feel this world get dull. and I'm not focusing anymore. I don't see anything sharp anymore. It's just kind of, it's not blurry. It's just not, it doesn't grab my attention, because my attention is focused on the internal picture. Yeah. Probably more words than was necessary. So, yeah, good videos. I mean, I shouldn't watch them all at once, the ones on Blip. I use them all up, you know. But, man, you make a lot of videos. I make a lot of videos, but you make a lot of videos for a guy with a regular job. Not that I don't have a job, but I don't feel like doing it. It's just really horrible. But that's another thing. I've been just struggling with my own consciousness and being trying to reflect on it, and how I had this whole plan, this going into this spring, that I would be so much more productive, because I'm going to try to get so much more focused, and it just kind of all falls apart somehow, and you end up behind again, and you're like, and you're not even interested. It's just getting getting back into some kind of rational habit. I just don't want, to do what I have to do, and it's just, you don't even know where that comes from. You can do something for 20 years, and you're perfectly functional doing it, and all of a sudden, no, I don't want to. I mean, that just doesn't work. Yeah. Anyway, till next time.